The dent on your can of baked beans isn't a battle scar, it's a timer, and you just lost. Here's what nobody tells you: canned food doesn't go bad the way fresh food does. It doesn't smell, it doesn't change color, it just waits. And when you finally open it, the botulism inside has no taste, no odor, just a neurotoxin that stops your breathing. The government gives you a 3-year window because they're covering their liability, not your life. So before you stock another case of tomatoes from the discount store, you need to know the 7 silent killers hiding in your pantry. Subscribe so you never miss this. Stay for number 7, the one most families trust with their nose. That trust will get you killed. Here is what actually happens inside the can. 1. The linings lie. That shiny coating on the inside of your can isn't there for fun. It's epoxy. And it contains BPA, or its chemical cousins. Here is the physics problem. Acidic foods like tomatoes, pineapple, and pickles slowly eat through that liner. Not in a week, in 6 months, in a year. The liner breaks down into microscopic flakes and leaches directly into your food. You eat it, your hormones get confused. That's the best case scenario. The worst case is the liner fails completely, exposing the metal underneath. Then the food starts reacting with the tin plate. You get metallic tasting beans and a side of heavy metals. Most people never rotate their tomatoes. They buy 12 cans, shove them in the cupboard, and forget them for 2 years. Wrong move. Eat your high acid cans within 18 months. Write the date on top with a Sharpie, and if the liner looks cracked or peeling when you open it, throw the whole thing away. 2. The bulge test. This one is simple, and it will save your life. A bulging can mean one thing: gas is being produced inside. The only thing that produces gas in a sealed metal container is bacteria, specifically Clostridium botulinum. Botulism doesn't need oxygen to grow. It thrives in that airtight, low-acid environment, and it produces no smell, no visible fuzz, just a slight swelling of the lid or the sidewall. Most people see a tiny bulge and think, it's probably fine. It's not fine. It's a corpse in a can. The toxin is heat-resistant up to boiling. You can cook the food and still get paralyzed. Here is the rule. If the can looks like it's pregnant, it goes straight into a trash bag outside your house. Do not open it. Do not sniff it. Do not feed it to your dog. The pressure inside can spray contaminated liquid right into your face. One sniff is enough to inhale the toxin. Respect the bulge. 3. Acid versus time. Here is the chemistry breakdown. Low acid foods have a pH above 4.6. That's meat, fish, poultry, beans, corn, peas, carrots, potatoes. These are your long haulers, properly stored. They can go 2 to 5 years before the metal becomes a problem. High acid foods have a pH below 4.6. That's tomatoes, citrus, pineapple, sauerkraut, pickles, fruit and syrup. These are your short timers. The acid corrodes the can from the inside out, not just the liner, the actual metal. You'll see pitting, rust spots, and eventually pinhole leaks. Most people treat all cans the same. They stack them together and grab whatever is in front. That's how you end up eating 3-year-old tomato sauce that tastes like batteries. Rule of thumb: eat high-acid cans within 12 to 18 months. Eat low-acid cans within 3 years. And never store either of them above 70 degrees. 4. The dent danger zone. Not all dents are the same. Here is the distinction that separates a careful prepper from someone who eats poison. A dent on the side of a can, away from the seams, is usually cosmetic. The metal stretched, but didn't break. Fine. But a dent on the top rim, the bottom rim, or directly over the side seam. That's a structural failure. The seam is where 2 pieces of metal are folded together and sealed with a compound. When you dent a seam, you create a microscopic gap. Oxygen gets in. Bacteria follow. You can't see the gap with your naked eye, but the bacteria can. Most people look at a can with a creased rim and think it's just a little banged up. That can is now a ticking bomb. The rule is brutal, but simple. If you can lay a dented can on its side and it wobbles because the rim isn't flat, trash it. If the dent is sharp enough to catch your fingernail, trash it. And never ever buy dented cans from the discount store. They're discounting your safety margin. 5. Storage temperature murder. Heat is the silent accelerator. Every 10 degrees Fahrenheit above 70 cuts shelf life in half. That's not an estimate. That's chemical kinetics. At 70 degrees, a can of green beans lasts 3 years. At 80 degrees, it lasts 18 months. At 90 degrees, it lasts 9 months. At 100 degrees, which is a typical summer afternoon in your garage, That same can last 4.5 months. Most people store their emergency food in the garage, the attic, or the shed. Those are death zones. The temperature swings alone cause condensation inside the can. Condensation means rust. Rust means pinholes. Pinholes mean spoilage. Here is what actually works. Store your cans in the coolest part of your home, a basement closet, an interior pantry. Under your bed if you have to. Keep them between 50 and 70 degrees. And buy a cheap fridge thermometer to put on your food shelf. If it reads over 70 for more than a week, you need to rotate everything faster. Heat doesn't just age the food, it ages the container. And the container is half the battle. 6. The rust rule. Rust is not a suggestion, it's a breach. The can is made of steel coated with a thin layer of tin. That tin layer is your barrier between food and oxygen. Rust happens when moisture eats through the tin and attacks the steel underneath. Surface rust, a little orange dust on the outside, is usually fine if it doesn't penetrate. But the moment you see pitting, those little craters in the metal, the seal is compromised. Oxygen has entered. Bacteria are partying. Most people wipe off the rust and open the can anyway. Don't. Here is the test. Run your finger over the rusty spot. If it feels rough or flaky, that's pitting. Do not eat that food. If the rust is around the rim or under the label, which is where moisture hides, that's even worse. The label traps humidity against the metal. That's why you should always remove paper labels before long-term storage. Write the contents on the lid with a marker instead. And if you see any rust on the inside rim after opening, the whole can goes in the trash. No second thoughts. 7. The open and smell trap. This is the one that kills the overconfident. The person who says, "I've been eating canned food for 40 years. I'll know if it's bad." Number. You won't. Botulism produces no odor, no off taste, no visible mold, no fizzing, no warning signs whatsoever. C. Botulinum is an anaerobic bacterium. It thrives in exactly the environment a sealed can provides, and the toxin it produces is one of the most lethal substances on Earth. A dose the size of a grain of salt can kill you. Most people open a can that looks fine, smells fine, and tastes fine. Then they spend the next 3 days in the ICU on a ventilator because their diaphragm stopped working. Smell is not a safety test. Neither is a quick taste. The only real test is knowing the history of that can. When was it purchased? Was it dented? Was it stored in a hot garage? Is the liner intact? If you cannot answer every single one of those questions with confidence, you throw the can away. No heroic meal prep. No waste. Not want. Not. You are not a trash can, and a $3 can of beans is not worth your life. The safest can is the one you rotated out and ate while it was still young. Here is the philosophy that actually keeps you alive. Survival doesn't reward the hero who sniffs a questionable can and eats it anyway. Survival rewards the boring person with a Sharpie, a thermometer, and a rotation system. Check your cans once a month. Write the date. Store them cool. Respect the bulge, fear the dent on the seam, and never trust your nose. Because your nose lies. Your job isn't to stockpile a decade of food. Your job is to manage the food you already have, so it doesn't become a poison cabinet. That's not fear. That's just adult homework. Here's my question for the comments. Go look at one can in your pantry right now. Does it have a dent on the seam? Is it stored above 70 degrees? What's the oldest can you own? Tell me the date. I'll wait. Next time, on the Aftermath Logs, we're talking about the water filter that fails when you need it most, and the $2 backup that actually works. Subscribe so you don't miss that one, because hope is not a strategy, but a Sharpie and a thermometer, that's a plan.